somebody that comes to speak, could you hit the? I was counting on I think that's more than three.
Definitely. Yeah, we rarely have anyone forget. We have like
So. All right.
Ready?
Yes, we are ready. So
Ready.
let's go ahead and call. This is the City of Dayton Budget Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 27th, approximately 6:31 p.m. Let's call this meeting to order and have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We could have a roll call.
Bruce Hopper,
Here.
Chair Holbrook,
Here.
Co-Chair Gonzalez. Here. Counselor Mackin. Here. Counselor Tycroft.
Here.
Mayor Frank. Counselor Livingston. And Counselor McGuire.
Here. All right. We have a quorum. Let's move on to appearance of interested citizens. We have one person here to speak that signed up. Lynn McGrew, you have 3 minutes. You could go to the podium and state your address for the record.
My name is Linda McGrew, 734 Southeast Palmer Lane in Dayton, Oregon. I have a few questions. It's not really, I would like to know, the last time you met, you mentioned that, the committee approved a property tax rate at 1.70 per thousand. Is that something that the county sets, or is that something that the city sets?
If you could go ahead and go through your questions and.
Well, that was the question. That was the first question.
All right, next question.
Okay, and I'd also like to know on the building, the Creekside building, Palmer Creek Launch. Has the city looked at leasing that building out instead of shutting it down? And the other question I had was in the budget, I didn't see any monies that were gonna be set aside for the water and sewer for annexing the urban growth boundaries into the city of Dayton. There was nothing in there that I could find. I don't know if someone could point it out to me. And on the police department, the Yamhill County, I believed that that was a budgeted or a bond levy. Has that bond levy ran out? And if it has, why is the city turned around and still gonna turn that? You know, instead of bringing it to another bond levy or. So those are questions I have.
Thank you, Linda. I'll make sure we get back to you in full with all the answers.
Okay.
All right. We will continue on to item D, discussion of proposed 2025-2026 budget. City manager, do you have any updates? Or actually, sorry, was anybody online that wish to speak?
Not that we have.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. Good evening, everybody. I want to first of all thank each of you for your engagement and attention through this process. More than anything that we do, budgeting is the most important task. It sets the policy direction for the city. It sets our priorities. thank you especially to our appointed members. Though there are more flashy things that we do as a city government compared to spreadsheets and all that good stuff, but you fulfill a critical role, so thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, before I launch into here, I'd just like to address the ladies' questions very quickly. This will be very easy, and I'm happy to stay over after the meeting and answer any other questions that she might have. So the property tax rate, that's our permanent tax rate. That is what was in effect when the voters approved the permanent tax rate amendment to the state constitution in the 1990s. Community center, possibly leasing it. That could be, and that's something I've thought about, one of the strategies that we look at as we develop a more sustainable funding model. The UGB development is not addressed in the budget message. I do talk about water issues specifically with the short term or the interim measure with the Astro transmission line. And the special levy for police is still in effect. I believe that expires in 2027. So again, happy to stay after if anybody has any follow-up questions. So in my memo in the packet, I have listed changes made since the last meeting. I'll review that briefly. I updated projections for water service charges based on the budget committee's direction on rates. So the direction was to increase the total water bill 5%. I factored that into my model. I believe my model is optimistic, but I put what my model projects in there. We will just have to monitor that as the fiscal year progresses to see if we're meeting our revenue targets. There's a transfer from the water fund to the water capital fund. This covers the McDougal Wells telemetry, which you directed me to program at the last meeting. It's covered by reserves. And then there's a transfer from the sewer fund to the sewer reserve fund. That's to set aside half of the utility bridge maintenance, again, covered by reserves. The total revenue changes are 220,886. Then moving on to the expenditures, I finalized the personnel budget based on your direction. So I reversed the pro rata reduction to general fund personnel expenditures. Staff are fully funded in the general fund, except for the library assistant. That position's hours are reduced from 20 to 15 per week. So many of these accounts are just adding back in the personnel budget. I adjusted contingency numbers as appropriate to balance the budget. I put in the bridge maintenance. I adjusted the water fund balance based on the increased revenue projections. So you'll see that in the contingency for the water fund. I reprogrammed the DCDA $2,500 for travel and training and state revenue sharing. I added the McDougal well telemetry project. I added the sewer bridge maintenance. So as you'll see, the change in expenditures meets the change in revenues, so the budget is balanced. Also, the public safety fee, stormwater fee remain. The temporary closure of the community center remains while honoring current reservations. The 19% sewer rate increases in there. And the allocation in the building reserve fund is in there with the understanding that council action will be required in the future on how we're going to spend that money. I also have a table that shows projected changes and fees and the total impact. What questions do you have for me?
Does the committee have any questions for the city manager? Any discussion?
I only have a comment. It's a sucky deal this year. Just got that, no offense to Jeremy, it's not Jeremy's fault, but Sasaki, so.
And the world around.
Any other comments? Otherwise, I'll be looking for someone to make a motion. That's it.
I move to approve the budget for the city of Dayton for 2025-2026 fiscal year. In the amount of $8,372,500, of which $313,094 is unappropriated and reserved as presented.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, that takes us to item F. We're adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you.
Wow. Good job, Jeremy. Thank you.
Nice, Jeremy.
Thank you. Thank you.
So 6:40, 6:40.
I'm pretty sure that Linda's probably gonna have some additional questions for you.
Happy to stay after.